What is up, my YouTube family? Welcome back to my channel. Unless this is your first time here, then it's just welcome. Now welcome back. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button because you will not be disappointed. Today's video, I know y'all probably like, girl, how you just gonna go into today's video like you ain't been gone a month? I needed to unplug. Do a little self-care, have a little fun. I know y'all understand, and I know y'all gonna say, oh, you don't owe us an explanation, and I don't feel like I do, but I know there are people who have followed me for a long time who Really, Bella? Hold that thought. As I was saying before Bella so rudely interrupted, I know there are people out here who have watched me for a long time, or not even a long time, but have grown to really genuinely care about me as a person, who were concerned, I'm sure. And so to y'all, I want to say I'm okay. Like, I'm alright. Mother was very much overwhelmed with life. And that was like the first couple of weeks, probably the first 3 weeks I was gone. And then my mom came out here for a week, her and my brother. That really recharged my battery a lot. But her being here made me realize I've been in Houston 9 months and I've not really gotten out to see the city or to do much. We went to the rodeo. That was real cute and fun. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take a little bit more time to just do some self-care, see the city, right? So that's what I've been doing. So in the midst of me trying to get out there and explore Houston and have fun, I went to the Summer Walker concert. And y'all couldn't tell me I wasn't performing live from my seat. Lost my voice completely. I've never been completely hoarse. I've never completely lost my voice like that. The first 4 days, I couldn't even get a whisper out. Like, it was just gone. And if y'all saw me join Maya the Don's Instagram live, then y'all heard when it was kind of coming back. And then she just wanted to play hide and seek with mother for a couple more days. And so I had to post it on there that once my voice came back completely, I would be back here in these YouTube streets and mother is back. Okay. However, I know I've been uploading 2 videos a week for like the past year. I'm taking it back to 1 for a little while. And I'll be throwing in extras here and there. But as for now, I'm not really ready to do 2 videos a week. And the one that I am starting back with today is none other than the infamous Charles, Starkweather, and Caril and Fugate. Now, I don't know if you heard of them or not, but if you have not, we are going to get into all of the things today. And so without further ado, more of my ranting and rambling on, let's get into today's video. Y'all, I don't even know if I've worn makeup since I filmed last. I bought a bunch of makeup and I haven't worn any of it. I think I wore makeup to the concert. That's the only time. Literally one day. So the subject of today's story, Mr. Charles Raymond Starkweather, was born on November 24th of 1938. Very long time ago. Also making him a Sagittarius. And I ain't saying all of y'all are like this, but you know, y'all are known for some things. But y'all my girls though, so I ain't gonna give you too much. He was born in Lincoln, Nebraska to parents Helen and Guy Starkweather. And little Charles was their 3rd child out of 7 total. And with all them kids in the house, baby, there was hardly a dull or quiet moment throughout his childhood. But for the most part, they were the typical family. There wasn't any mistreatment or trauma going on happening underneath the roof of the Starkweathers, according to them. Now, Mr. Starkweather was a carpenter who was oftentimes in between jobs due to medical reasons. He suffered from severe rheumatoid arthritis in both of his hands. And so a lot of times this would hinder him from being able to work for like months at a time. And in an effort to supplement that lost income and keep them afloat, Helen works as a waitress. However, they still unfortunately suffer a lot financially, even when both parents are working a job at the same time. But for the most part, they do okay making ends meet and providing a nice, okay, comfortable lifestyle for their large family. And like I previously mentioned, there wasn't much dysfunction amongst their family, if any at all. The Starkweathers are pretty well known in the neighborhood as a respectable family with very well-behaved children. But while his home life might be pretty smooth sailing, his school life is anything but that. See, Charles was born with a little medical hurdle of his own, just like his father. It wasn't rheumatoid arthritis, but he was born with a birth defect that resulted in his legs being misshapen, like 2 parentheses, if you will. Like, he was extremely bow-legged, like bow-legged to the max. And on top of that, he also has a speech impediment that causes him to stutter. And so y'all know how kids are and what they give. This makes him a very easy target for other children in his class. And it isn't like a light little butt of the joke here and there kind of bullying or teasing. It was very merciless, hardcore, horrible bullying. Okay, the kids were terrible to him. Academically, he does not perform well and is regarded as a slow learner by the school staff. However, his parents did not think that there was a real problem with their child as far as his learning abilities. They really felt like he wasn't applying himself, and so that's what they would accuse him of all the time. And it is not until his teen years that they discover that he also suffers from, I believe it's pronounced myopia. At least that's what it looked like it say. So we rolling with that. And this severely affects his vision. And so, child, while they thought he just couldn't read the board, he couldn't see the board. That was the issue. And I'm sure his social experiences, this is just my belief, affected his grades as well. Because when you go to school every day, and you getting teased like that, like I'm pretty sure it's hard to focus and learn properly. The only aspect of school that he excels in at all is actually gym class. And he really enjoyed gym class. Gym class for him is a way to express his feelings and just get off some of that steam, that, internal rage that he's building up inside of him for his fellow classmates who are making his school life a living hell. Now, as his physique becomes better and stronger, so does his confidence, and he begins to realize that the physical strength of his bullies is no match for his own. Now, he may not have been as quick-witted, swift with the tongue like they were. However, he was a lot stronger physically, and so when he realizes that, the tables begin to turn a little bit, and he becomes somewhat of a bully himself. He starts out challenging the bullies who had always taunted him and made him a target of their, foolishness and shenanigans. But it is not long before Charles, who was once known as this very quiet, shy, well-behaved student, becomes a nightmare for anyone who made him feel the slightest little bit of negative emotions. Even the smallest infractions are met with very violent responses. It is not long before this version of Charles supersedes the previous known version of him, and he is known solely as somebody not to be played with. Now, initially, Charles was satisfied just, with being able to get back at the people who had harassed him. However, he quickly realizes that something within him enjoys casting fear into the hearts of others. And over time, it becomes less about defending himself and getting these other students up off of him, and more about the satisfaction that he feels dominating other classmates. It almost becomes an obsession of his. But with his reputation steadily growing as one not to be messed with and fewer people starting trouble with him, he has fewer opportunities to flex his strength and dominance. And child, when that happens, he becomes a little bored in school. And so instead of targeting those who offend him, he expands his horizons and begins targeting literally anyone that he has any sort of disdain or dislike for, whether they had crossed him or not. And his new attitude and his new ways are not just limited to his classmates. He also begins terrorizing his other siblings. And as he grows bigger and stronger, he also makes his parents a target of his rage as well. I don't know why the 8 of them couldn't get together and just go and stomp him out. But yeah, they didn't do that. They just pretty much walked on the eggshells anytime he was at home, tried to stay out of his way, and tried their very best not to unintentionally provoke him. Now, his senior year of high school, he decides that, school it's no longer a vibe, okay? I'm not really feeling this anymore. And so he drops out, and his parents do not contest this because by this time, them, along with all 6 of his siblings, are afraid of him. They just were not in the mood for one of his violent outbursts. And so they really don't say anything about him dropping out. Now, during this time, he also becomes infatuated with James Dean and his rebellious bad boy persona. He feels like it is one that resonates with him and the type of man that he aspires to be. And so he begins to dress like him, comb his little hair over like James Dean, and even alters his own demeanor to kind of give this little James Dean je ne sais quoi, and covers his naturally red hair with black shoe polish to get that color and that shine that Mr. James Dean had. Now, he wasn't nearly as cute, but he damn sure tried to be. He gave it his best. After he leaves high school, he does take himself down to a local little warehouse and gets himself a job. And this warehouse is located near a junior high school where young 13-year-old Caril and Fugate attend school. Now, he had previously been introduced to Caril, and there were conflicting reports as to how that went down, with some reports claiming that a friend of his had dated Caril's older sister and he had met her that way, but the other reports said that he himself dated Caril Ann's older sister once upon a time, and that's how he met her. And once he was done with the sister, he moved on to the younger sister and began to groom her. Because mind you, he is 18 right now. She is 13. And because of their age gaps, they knew that their parents or their families would not support this relationship. It is also very much against the law, being as though the age of consent in Nebraska then and now is 16. Now, little Charles does not want to land himself in jail, but there is something about Caril Ann that he feels might be worth the risk. So each day after school and work, the two of them would meet up to secretly spend some time together before returning to their respective family homes. One evening, Charles decides that he is going to take little Miss Caril Ann out and teach her how to drive the car. But it goes a little left when she crashes it. And child, the car actually belonged to his father, who was livid when he found out that one, his car had been crashed, and two, it was crashed because his son was letting a 13-year-old drive it, calling himself teaching her how to drive. And to add insult to injury, Charles really does not have any remorse for the trouble that he caused. He shows no kind of regret. And instead of being apologetic about it, he just basically brushes it off like it's not that big of a deal. It's just a car. Sir, a car that wasn't yours, a car I lended you to get your ass to work and back. For Guy Starkweather, this is the final straw, okay? He tells his son that he has to leave their home ASAP. He kicks Charles out. And now that Charles does not have a way to work anymore, he is forced to quit this warehouse job. But he does go secure another job working as a garbage collector. And during his routes, he would scope out the houses, take note of the kind of cars that they would drive, the things that they had inside of the home if he could see through the window, and begins fantasizing about coming back and robbing them and using his little breaks and free time, literally sitting and plotting out how he will go about carrying out these acts if he were to really do it someday. He also continues to see Caril, and the two, believing that they are madly in love, sneak and spend as much time together as they possibly could without, her family finding out. And her family had actually tried to prevent her from seeing him. They had warned her against it, even threatening to have him locked up, but she still continues to see him in secret. Now, little Charles quickly becomes bored with this new job because, work was honest, but it wasn't really paying the bills, especially now that he is 100% solely responsible for caring for himself. But his finances, or lack thereof, do not stop him from attempting to keep up the romance in his relationship with Caril. I hate to even call it that. He makes it a point to continue his romantic gestures for her, one of which was stopping by Press Service Station on the evening of November 30th of 1957 to purchase her a little stuffed animal. But see, Charles didn't have quite enough money for the little bear, and so he asked the store clerk, 21-year-old Robert Colvert, if he could just slide him a little, I owe you, and take it on credit, which the store clerk refuses. Frustrated, Charles leaves the store, but the audacity of the store clerk to deny him something is just something that he cannot let go. Like, he just can't get it out of his head. He's appalled. He is replaying the scenario in his head over and over, becoming more enraged, more appalled, and angry each time. A couple of hours later, which is now 3 a.m., Charles returns to the store looking for Robert, who is still within his shift. Now, leaving his little shotgun that he had brought along inside of his car, he enters the store and purchases a pack of cigarettes. Checks out. Everything appears to be normal on Robert's end. Charles then goes back to his car and drives around a little bit. He then circles back to return to the gas station. And for the second time, he leaves his weapon in the car and enters the store. Now this time, he places a pack of chewing gum at the register. And Robert checks him out, and then again, he leaves the store. Now, he parks a short distance from the gas station, puts on a hat and a red bandana to cover the bottom half of his face, and returns to the store on foot. But this time, he is carrying his shotgun in a canvas bag. He enters the store, aims it at Robert, and demands that he empties the drawer. Now, to Charles' surprise and probably disappointment, there was only $100 in the drawer, child. And about 5 or 7 of them dollars belonged to him because he was just in there purchasing gum and cigarettes. Still aiming at Robert, he orders him out of the store into the darkness of the middle of the night, walking him back toward the car that he had parked down the road. He drives young Robert to a remote area right outside of town, parks the car, and orders Robert to get out of the car. Now, at the point in which the two of them get out of the car, Robert does attempt to grab the weapon from him. The two of them begin to tussle and struggle for it back and forth, during which it goes off and hits Robert in the kneecap. And at this point, Charles gains the upper hand and finishes what he had brought Robert there for in the first place, letting off one more shot, hitting the man in the head. All evening, Charles had been lost in his thoughts, imagining this scenario, playing it in his head over and over again, and imagining what it would make him feel like once he had done it. But nothing that he imagined could compare to the way that he actually felt in that moment. Now, in his own words, it was as if he had transcended his former self to reach a new place of existence in which he was above and outside of the laws of man. He says that in that moment, he felt untouchable and out of everyone's reach. Everyone's except Caril's. Now, he wastes no time at all confessing to her what he had done, but only confesses to the robbery part. That's it. He does not mention the point in which he returned to the store, forces the young man into the car, anything that happened thereafter. It is not long before Robert is discovered, and when the discovery is made, of course, news of this finding just goes throughout the town. It is all over the news. And so, of course, Caril brings this up to him and asks him if he was the one that was behind the demise of this young man. And he tells her no, it was not him. He had nothing to do with that. Somebody must have shown up after the fact and did that to him. But she doesn't believe him at all. She doesn't let him know that she doesn't believe him. Yeah, let me tell you right now, I'm probably about to mess this look up, child. It's probably about to go left. But y'all know the vibes. It ain't that serious. I'm not going nowhere. Now, although Caril does not believe him one bit, she is sure that he definitely was behind all of it. She pretends that, she believes what he is telling her. And even though she knows that he is behind all of this, she does not report him to the police. Honey, Charles was her man and she was going to stick beside him, even through this. Now unemployed and with that $100 dwindling down to nothing, child, real fast. Little Charles is unable to cover his rent and is therefore evicted. And you know how they say when it rains, it pours? Well, he was definitely having one of those moments. Because right when this happens, he gets the news that Caril's parents are really cracking down on her whereabouts. They are not playing any more games with Miss Girl. She is to go to school and come straight home and not sneak off to be with Charles. And finally, they are successful in keeping a tight leash on their daughter. Roughly 2 months after the gas station incident, January 21st of 1958, Charles goes to Caril's family home and demands that they allow him to come inside and just talk to them. Like, let's just talk about this. Maybe we can reach a mutual understanding or agreement. And of course, our parents were like, you know what? No, you can't come in here. We have nothing to talk about. Keep your grown hands off of our teenage daughter, please. They warn Charles that if he continues to make contact with their daughter, they will involve the police. And this is something that Charles just was not ready to go for. This was not an answer that he was willing to accept. He gives them the impression that he has agreed and he is leaving for good. But in actuality, he goes back to his car and retrieves his handy dandy little shotgun that he likes to carry around 24/7 now. Armed, he returns to the front door and knocks again. And this time, he forces his way inside of their home. In a matter of minutes, he takes out almost the entire family, including their 2-year-old baby girl. He then drags each of them outside to the backyard of the house and leaves them laying there. Now, I said almost every member of the family because one member of the family is left completely unscathed. Little Miss Caril. She and Charles remain inside of her family home for the next 6 days with a sign on the front door that asks visitors not to disturb the family because they are all unfortunately inside sick with the flu. Now, some people would ignore the little note and try to knock anyway to get an answer. And for those people, Caril would answer the door and tell them that everything is fine and, that they needed to pretty much leave. Leave them alone. Stop bothering us. We sick. Child, I have tried to save this look as best I can. It's just, we just gonna let her go to hell, okay? Now, although this does not really sit right with any of the people that had stopped by, they reluctantly respect her wishes and leave the home without making further attempts to come by or contact them. However, Caril's grandmother, she had a feeling that something was wrong. Like, she just wasn't buying this story that Caril was giving Caril in this little note. Caril's mother had a habit of calling her mother, the grandmother, literally every day. And now it has been a week since she has heard from her daughter, and it just didn't sit well with her spirit. She knew something was wrong. So she then goes to the police and requests that they do a welfare check, which they agree to go by the house and do. But unfortunately, on the date that they go, the 7th day, Caril and Charles make the decision to leave, and they leave right before the police arrive. So they arrive pretty much to an empty house. Empty on the inside. After leaving her parents' home, the young couple drive to the farmhouse of 70-year-old August Meyers, who was a family friend of the Fugates, and he lived in Bennett, Nebraska. I'm not sure how far that is, but I don't think it's all that far. Charles wastes no time unaliving this man and his little dog. And after taking what valuables they could find within the home, they flee the farmhouse. But in doing so, they get their little tires stuck in the mud. And after sitting and trying to rev the car out of the mud for a little while, they realize that it's just not going to work. And they are, of course, desperate to get away from this farmhouse as soon as possible. So they decide to go down to the road, stick those thumbs out, and hitchhike a ride from 2 nice teenagers who are more than willing to give them a little help. But unfortunately, Charles meets their generosity with the opposite. He forces them to drive to a nearby abandoned storm shelter where he shoots one and Caril shoots the other. Next, they drive to the wealthier side of Lincoln, Nebraska, and then breaks into one of the homes there that is occupied by a man and his wife. Now, the couple is not home, but the home is not empty. When they arrive, they encounter the couple's maid, Lillian, who Charles stabs. Then the two of them sit and wait for the arrival of the homeowners. And in the meantime, they break the neck of the little dog to keep him from barking and alarming anyone. Now, the wife, Clara, comes home first and sadly meets the same fate as Lillian, the maid. And this is actually done at the hands of Caril. Hours later, the husband returns to the home, and this time it's Charles' turn. So he decides to do the honors and takes out the husband. Together, Charles and Caril pack the couple's 1950 Packard with jewelry, cash, and other valuables that they found around the house. And once they have everything that they want out of the home, they hop in the car and they leave. The discovery of the wards really sends shockwaves throughout the community because this type of thing did not happen in their neighborhood. It causes a huge uproar within the community, and they demand that the person responsible is found and brought to justice. Law enforcement conducts a literal house-to-house search for the perpetrators, believing that they had to be still in the neighborhood and possibly hiding out within one of the other homes. The governor even goes so far as to contact the National Guard to come assist with this search. And he orders a block-by-block search of the entire city, not just the neighborhood. Now, several sightings of the young couple riding around in the ward's stolen car are reported to the Lincoln Police Department. Still unable to catch up with and capture the pair, the police are heavily criticized and scrutinized for their incompetence solving this case. Meanwhile, Caril and Charles had completely fled the city. They were long gone in their little car, but they knew that they needed a different car ASAP because this one, of course, is hot, okay? They stumble upon traveling salesman Merle Collison sleeping inside of his Buick alongside the highway right outside of Douglas, Wyoming. They first wake him up just to take him out. Like, why couldn't you do it in his sleep? You gotta be real trifling to wake somebody up first. And Charles was fully prepared to carry out the act by himself, but his gun jams, and without hesitation, Caril steps up and does the honors. And this was very impressive to Charles. He felt like, well, he didn't feel like, he actually said that she was the most trigger happy person that he ever met, and it was something that he really admired about her. Now, Mr. Merrill's car had a parking brake, which was something that Charles was not used to seeing. He had never driven or noticed a parking brake inside of a car, and he had no idea about them and how they function. So he hops in the car, him and Miss Caril, and he goes to drive away, but of course the car does not want to go because the parking brake is engaged. The car is stalling, and he is just over and over trying his best to get it to go, which it's refusing to do. And little Charles is completely and utterly oblivious as to why it won't move. Charles attempts to restart the car a couple of times. That is not working. So after he tries literally any and everything that he can think of and it does not work, none of it works, he decides to get out of the car, lift up the hood, and play with the engine a little bit. And a passing motorist by the name of Joseph Sprinkle sees him with his hood up, and as a good Samaritan stops to offer him some help. Now, Charles at this point is already frustrated, and I don't know what he hopped out and said to little Miss Charles, but Charles did not like it. And so he threatens the man, and this then turns into an all-out brawl. The two of them begin to fight. Y'all, I got a story on my heart. Part of me don't want to tell it, but in true Brittney fashion, I'm going to tell it anyway. This part of the story reminds me of something that happened in my life. There was this one time that my younger sister, and I ain't going to tell y'all it was Melissa, child. I ain't going to mention her name. She called me late one night saying that she was alongside the highway in my mother's little SUV, and it had stopped on the highway, and she didn't know what was wrong. So she had called me because where it had stopped on the highway was literally like the exit to my apartment. My apartment was right off the highway exit, probably 2 minutes, 3 in traffic. Now, she tells me that she believes it's the battery, but I'm like, are the lights on? Like, are any of the lights on? And she's like, yeah, all the lights come on. So I'm like, okay, yeah, it can't be the battery, girl. It just cannot. So I asked her if she, had gas in the car, or could she have possibly run out of gas? And she was like, no, I didn't run out of gas. The car is literally filled. Mind you, her boyfriend is in the car with her when this is going down, and she's explaining this to me. And she's like, oh yeah, the gas can is literally as full as it can go, like full to the max. And he's like, yeah, we've already checked like all of the obvious reasons why the car could have quit, and we just can't figure it out. So I tell them, don't worry about it. I'm on my way. I'll pick y'all up, right? But I lived with my boyfriend at the time. And so he was like, you're not going out this late by yourself. I'm coming with you. So I was like, okay. Now we get in the car and my ex says to me, I just know damn well it better not be that they have run out of gas. And he can't even figure it out. Like, I'll give your sister a pass. But the boyfriend, and I'm like, surely that's not what's going on here. Like, can't be it, right? Wrong. Y'all, I look at the gas hand and it's all the way on the red line. Empty. It couldn't have been more on E than it was. And for the life of us, we just couldn't understand how the two of them, looked at that and thought that was full. Not to mention the gas light was on as well. To this day, I haven't figured it out. And they were not like these young teens. Both of them were in their 20s and he was like 4 years older than her. So I just really can't even fathom how that happened. Like, it was so ridiculous. We couldn't even be upset. We just took them to get a gas can, a little gas, put it in the car, and let them ease on down the road. I don't even know if we told my mama. Probably not. And child, it was extremely late at night. I'm telling you, Memphis City Schools should have never made No Child Left Behind a thing. Because, girl, sometimes a child needs to be left behind to repeat a grade, okay? I blame them. But anyway, back to Caril and Charles. Now, their little fighting really caused a lot of attention. And so within minutes, one of the sheriffs arrives to the scene. And as he is approaching the car, Caril hops out of the vehicle and yells, "It's Charles Starkweather, and he's going to kill me." Now, Charles is appalled at all of the things because, girl, not you trying to betray me right now. He does not, however, waste any time hopping back into the stolen car from the wealthy couple and making it on down the road. Because, he couldn't figure out the other car with the parking brake. So he just got back in the one he knew how to operate. And this is the James Dean moment he has been waiting on all of his life. He speeds off in the car. And of course, the deputy radios for help. A roadblock is set up at the Douglas city limits where Charles was headed, but he blows straight through it, sending three police cars on 100+ mph chase through the streets. Now, in an attempt to stop his vehicle, they began firing at Charles, letting off shots at Charles' little car, trying to, stop him, voluntarily or involuntarily, whichever came first. They shatter his car window. And some of the glass from that impact grazes his ear. And Charles thinks he has been shot. He thinks he's been hit, child, and this is it. He slams on his brakes, bringing the car to a screeching halt. Like, y'all, he really did think that he was about to die, and that's the only reason that he stopped. He thought this was it. In his mind, that whole scene had played out like the scene from Set It Off when they got Cleo. They take him into custody. He has the option of being extradited back to Nebraska, which he opts to do, believing that prosecutors would not seek out the death penalty, since the governor at the time was so openly against it. Now, unfortunately for little Charles, he turns out to be the exception to Mr. Governor's belief, child, because the governor was like, girl, if anybody deserves it, you do. So yeah, that backfired. Now, both of them are tried for the string of crimes that they committed, with Caril maintaining that she was completely innocent. According to her, she had broken up with Charles literally days before he had shown up to her parents' home, and she believes that this is what sent him into a downward spiral of just chaos and shenanigans. Now, she also claimed that the day that he came to her family's home, she did not know he was coming. She wasn't even there. She was at school that day. And once she arrived home from school, he actually met her at the door and she was shocked to see him there. He had opened the door, shown her his weapon, and told her that he had her family held hostage, but everyone was okay, and that as long as she cooperates with him, it'll remain that way. She maintains that that is the whole reason that she left with him in the first place, and she had no idea that anything had happened to her family. She found out after the two of them had been arrested. And up until that point, she had just been a hostage of his, afraid for her life, and had also never participated in any of the things herself. She was just there. And for some of the acts, she claimed to not have been present at all, particularly the incident with the teens that had offered them a ride when they were hitchhiking. She claims that She did not enter the storm shelter with Charles and the couple. She allowed him to go in with them all alone. She sat in the car and waited for Charles outside the entire time. She had no idea what he was up to. And during her trial, Charles is called up as a witness. Now, initially, when they first got arrested, he maintained that he had done everything himself, that Caril was, she was innocent and she should be freed and let go. But once he heard how she was pretty much throwing him under the bus and saying the same thing and really painting him out to just be this monster who also threatened her life, he became upset by that. And he decided, you know what? I'm going to tell the truth. Her ass is guilty, just as guilty as I am. He testifies that she was a willing participant in everything, that she was well aware of everything that was going down, even with her family. And not only was she aware of what happened, she was complicit. Complicit in that and everything else that happened afterward. According to Charles, Caril was never afraid. She was thrilled to be out there in the field with him. Now, the presiding judge, he did not believe Caril at all. He did not believe that Caril was some innocent hostage of Charles's, and also points out that if that were the case and she was a hostage, by her own account, she had plenty of opportunities to escape this man. If she was left alone and not even present for most of the crimes, if you're not present, then you're somewhere by yourself, right? Unless you were in a dungeon, my girl, and you were not that. You say you were left inside the car or waiting for him outside these places. So why didn't you flee, girl? And Charles also speaks to this point when he is testifying. He asks the same questions. If you were a hostage and I left you unsupervised, why didn't you leave? Charles said that if she wanted to escape, she could have escaped at any time. He said that he had left her alone lots of times. Sometimes he would run inside of a fast food place to get them something to eat, leaving her inside the car with the keys and the weapons. And so there was literally nothing stopping her from running if that's what she wanted to do. And hell, he had taught her how to drive. So Miss Girl had all of the things she needed to escape. At the conclusion of her trial, little Caril Ann, who is 15 at the time, is found guilty and receives a sentence of life in prison. Now, this sentence is later commuted, allowing her to later be paroled in 1976 after serving 18 years. She got out and settled in Lansing, Michigan. She did not marry or have any kids from the reports that I saw. Instead, she just changed her name and got her a nice little honest job working as a janitor at a hospital, and she has refused to speak of her past at all. Like, she refuses to talk about it in any capacity. And you know what? Honestly, and I know some of y'all gonna eat me up for what I'm about to say, but I feel like even if she did participate, hear me out, girl, don't get mad just yet, hold on. I still feel some empathy for her because between the ages of 13 and 15, like, girl, what do you know? I mean, I'm sure she knew everything that they were doing was wrong, of course, but she was groomed by this older man and under his little spell, thought she was in love. Like, I ain't never been there, but I could see why she would be confused and down with all of this for her man. She was definitely groomed and manipulated by him, for sure. And I definitely don't believe she would have done any of this on her own. Like, does she deserve to get off scot-free? Hell no. But I do feel like that 18 years was definitely, like, it was definitely fair. She was only 33 years old when she was released, so she was actually lucky because she had a lot of her life left ahead of her. Now, she's applied for pardon in both 1996 and in 2020. Both times she was denied. They was like, girl, no ma'am. My girl trying to get that record clear so she can get her a nice little job down to Amazon. But they are not trying to hear it. And I feel like that's fair as well. You already got out of prison, girl. That's enough luck for you, Miss Mamas. You should definitely still have to live with this the rest of your life because you did it. Now, as for Charles, his little trial began, and his little legal team, they tried their little best. They really did. They even tried to argue that he was legally insane. One of his lawyers made a very emotional plea in court on behalf of Charles, crying and everything, saying, and I quote, "This boy is a product of our society. And now our society, who has spawned this individual, is now looking for a scapegoat. His life, my life, are almost parallels. until our 19th birthday. I stand here and weep unashamedly. I hated everybody and everything. Society treated me just as it had treated Charles Starkweather, but the good Lord gave me a little better parents. How you gonna blame it on the parents, sir? The parents had nothing to do with it. The parents are victims as well. But that was cute, what you tried to do. And unfortunately for y'all, it did not work. The trial wraps up with the jury very quickly deciding that Charles Starkweather is very much guilty of everything that he is charged for. Everything y'all said he did, he did it. And the jury takes it upon themselves to suggest that he gets the death penalty. And their request is granted. Now, upon hearing this, Charles was not that upset that he was getting the DP. He was more upset that Caril didn't get it. He said if he had to get this, she should get it as well. That they had committed the same crime, so they needed to meet the same fate. But we already know that didn't happen for her. And unfortunately for him, the state carried out his execution on June 25th of 1959. He was literally only 20 years old, if I can count. Now, he decided not to give any last words at all, but he did write one final letter to his parents. And in the letter, he tells them that he is not sorry for anything that he has done, because for the first time, him and Caril were able to be together, be free, and have more fun. He also expressed to them his acceptance and indifference to his fate and how things turned out for him. And he is buried at the, I believe it's pronounced Wyuka Cemetery in Lincoln, Nebraska, where ironically 5 of his victims are also buried. I feel like that's a little inappropriate. Like, y'all couldn't just toss him in the woods somewhere. Why bury him by his victims? Imagine he pop up in the afterlife standing next to them. Girl, they would have to just go on and send me to the next level, because I would wear him out, child. If he popped up on the other side standing next to me, child, I wouldn't be able to get my ghost up off of his. I'm just going to let you know that now. I would just wear him out, hands and feet. You know what? Right before I wrap this up, I was on, shout out to Maya the Don, girl, I love you. I was on a live with her. I don't know how long ago. It's like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. And the thing is, y'all know I'm not a blush girl. I don't do blush. I hate blush. Despise it. I never bought it for myself, but now I have a million blushes because companies send them to me. Keep sending them, girl, because now I'm wearing them, okay? I've been dibbling and dabbling in the blushes. And even though I had not been putting them on in my latest videos, behind the scenes, I have been wearing a little blush, girl, behind y'all back. And so, yeah, I might be a blush girl now, but I was on live with her and her blush was so pretty. And she was like, you should try it. It's a Rare Beauty. I'm like, girl, I got all the Rare Beauty blushes. Shout out to them. And she was like, yeah, it's Joy. My girl sent me right into the DP. And I saw this one. When I pulled it out, I said, oh, that's Joy. Oh, girl, you're taking me too fast. But because I told you I was going to wear it in this here video, here we go. Now, if I end up looking like I got hay fever, y'all know whose fault it is. Chill, I'm a little scared. Oh, I'm scared. This is intimidating. Let me put a little bit on the back of my hand. Because this is like orange. This is a lot. Not me having hiccups. That's how nervous I am. Child, and hiccuped out of fear. Oh, Lordy. It's a really pretty color. It's a whole lot of color. I mean, at this point, I feel like everything else about this look is kind of messed up. So what do I have to lose, really, honestly, right? Now, since this all went down, a lot of movies have been made about the Starkweather case. Well, not made about it, but like inspired by the Starkweather Fugate fiasco. Natural Born Killers, about them. A movie called Badlands. I haven't seen it, but I feel like I've heard that name before. There's also a movie called California with a K, and then there is also a movie called The Sadist, which is also inspired by Charles Starkweather. I feel like I look like a baby doll, but I like it. Like, it looks like it's a lot on the hand and in the jar, but it's really not. Like, you just have to use a little bit, and I like that too, because that means my little product gonna last a long time. I just have to get used to seeing me with blush on. I think that's the issue. Like, I'm just not used to it. It's like when Bella saw me without my wig for the first time and she was running from me. There are also TV shows and like made for TV films that were made inspired by these two. They have an episode on deadly women and also video on A Crime to Remember. And there's even a video game called Manhunt. The main antagonist, a character named Lionel Starkweather. I want to put some of this on the tip of my nose, but I'm scared. But what I got to lose at this point, right? Just a little light blush. Just... So I don't think it looks bad, but I don't feel like this is me. Adds a little more. Like, what the hell, Brittney? I don't know. Okay, yeah, I'm not feeling the nose, but I really feel like the blush is really cute. Like, I really love the blush. Enough about the blush. Okay, let me wrap up this video. There's really not much else to say other than there are some people, not a whole lot of people, but some that expressed believing Caril, that she was a hostage and all of this. Girl, why would you stand in the house with him for 6 days with your parents laid out back in the grass, girl? If they were hostages and you believe that they were alive and well, where did you believe he was hostaging them at for those 6 days? Because, baby, you would have had to give me proof of life. Caroline. Anyway, some people believed her and most don't. I just want to know your thoughts, though. Y'all know I always want to know what y'all think about it. Let me know down below. And don't y'all get down there in a group chat and want to talk about my makeup. Don't talk about me today because I just can't take it. Like, I'm trying to come back and it's really late at night. And y'all know I really don't give a damn if the makeup does not come out perfect. I really want to make sure that I get all the details of the story right because it is extremely difficult to sit here, tell you somebody's literal life start to finish, and go over these details. Focus on the makeup while focusing on the story. The story is always the most important thing to me. And with all that being said, I appreciate y'all so much for watching. I love you guys. Please like the video, subscribe if you have not. Let me know your thoughts down below. Share the video with a friend. We are almost at 200K. Shout out to all the newbies. Hello. Y'all help me get there by sharing the content. As always, I appreciate you so much for spending your time with me. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Peace. Oh, you know what? Before I go as well, shout out to the people I've been running into in these streets lately. Y'all, you know, this is the thing. If you see me, I would much rather and prefer that you speak, even if you just do a little hey, because when you stare, it makes me uncomfortable. And I think I said this before, because I see people, I saw this one lady in Target, girl, and if you're watching the video where we was picking up our orders, yes, ma'am, I'm talking about you. It's no shade. You could have spoke. You still my girl or whatever. I'm just saying. When you just look, and then I notice you're looking, and then I look back to see if you're still looking and you are, and you don't look away, like it just makes me a little uncomfortable. Like, girl, what's going on? Like, what are we doing? Shout out to the lady me and my sister met at the gym, and you who I met at Morphe who put me on to some bomb Danessa Myricks products. And yeah, I know you was busy at work or whatever, but I appreciate you taking a little time to tell me that you appreciate me. Y'all, and why my mama pop in like, did you see the video with her mom? And they were like, no, my mama was... She was shamed because she like, well, damn, I wanted a moment too. But, you know, girl, they ain't seen the video. They just ain't seeing you, my girl. It's okay. But, yeah, I'm out of here for real now because my mouth is dry and I'm sleepy. And it is now 11:30 p.m. past my bedtime. Really, Bella? Not a video featuring my neighbors. Yo, so then I went to Jasmine Sullivan's concert. It was not Jasmine Sullivan. It was Summer Walker. My mother is back, okay? But, oh, yeah. I hope I called him Charles Starkweather because I don't feel like that's what I said. What are you doing here? What are you doing here? Oh, there's Bella, y'all. Bella, what do you want? And I love you, but I gotta do this. I know. I know. I can still see you. I guess that's fine. I'll take what I can get at this point. I'm desperate. Disdain or dislike for. That's the same word. Like those two words have the same meaning. So I just, whatever. Romantic gesture. Blah, blah. Yeah, let me tell you right now, I'm probably about to mess this look up, child. It's probably about to go left. Damn, Bella, is it that bad, girl? The wind wants to be a part of this so bad. unreal. Even though this really didn't, Bella, please. It's most certainly my first and last time using this palette. Merle Caril, girl. I like this little applicator. I'm feeling real tribal, real in touch with my roots. Okay, yeah, this is not my foundation shade, obviously. So yeah, we're gonna fix it though. So just go easy on me. It's my first day back. I'm so upset because I fully intended to take some cute pictures after I filmed today, and that's obviously not happening. Many opportunities to manhunt where the main antagonizer. No. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one.